Hey everyone, my name is Steven. I'm starting off this channel. This is my second video that I'm doing for the channel. I figured I would introduce myself. For those who don't know me, I have Chiari Malformation and Syringomyelia. I have the Syringomyelia, also known as a syrinx. It's like a cyst that's filled with CSF fluid. That's in my cervical area, around my C2, C3 area. I was diagnosed officially in 2021 after a car accident. I was on my way home from work and I got rear-ended, and the pain, it came on quickly. After my adrenaline settled down, I noticed the headaches and my face was swelling and the neck pain, and I thought it was just, whiplash, because back in 2016 I was also rear-ended in a car accident, and I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, after that, my symptoms, they came on strong, and I knew I had herniated disc in my neck, so the whole time I thought it was those giving me issues again. So I didn't think nothing of it, so I had to do physical therapy, and then a couple weeks later they did a MRI of my neck. That's when I found out I had a syrinx, and Chiari was questionable. My tonsils were herniated, and you could see it in the MRI report, but at that time I didn't know what I was looking at. But I got a lot of, no, it's just a syrinx, there's no Chiari involved. And they said a lot of people have syringomyelia and there's nothing, it doesn't cause any pain. And I just went about, kept doing my thing. I worked for a couple more weeks, and then at work people thought I was having a stroke. At that time we had to wear masks because of COVID, because it was a doctor's office I worked in. She noticed the left side of my face was really droopy, and my left part of my mouth was really droopy. And I was also kind of confused, and everything seemed bright. I knew something was wrong, I just didn't think anything of it. So when I took off my mask, and they noticed it right away that my face was kind of droopy, and I went to my supervisor and explained everything to her, and she just said, take it easy for the rest of the day. And I only had a couple hours left to work, and then right after work I had to go to physical therapy. Then I was on the phone with my wife, and I was like, something seems off. I kept repeating myself over and over. The sun seemed extra bright. The drive was weird. And I went to my physical therapy, and I made them aware, and they didn't say really much. They said, we'll just monitor you here. But I noticed when I was there, I was getting confused a lot, and it lasted the whole weekend. It was Sunday had came around, and my forgetfulness was getting worse. I was repeating myself a lot, and I just didn't feel myself. So I went to the ER to get checked out, and then they did a scan, and they said nothing was wrong. So I just thought it was from the car accident, and that's what I told the ER doctor. And they said, well, maybe it's from the accident, and it didn't let up. The pain kept getting worse, the headaches, the pressure in the back of my head, and it was just really uncomfortable. For those who suffer from Chiari, and they know how uncomfortable that the pain could be and how bad the headaches were. I got officially diagnosed with Chiari officially, I want to say a couple months later, but I had saw a neurologist, and he was like, you do have Chiari. And then my doctor was like, no, you don't. Then I went and saw a neurosurgeon and said, no, you don't, and your syrinx doesn't cause issues. He was like, I want you to get your MRI report from 2016 when I was rear-ended back then as well. And at the time after I got that, I never got the report. The doctor told me, you just have herniated disc, and just continue to live life. So when I looked and got the report, it said I had Chiari and Syringomyelia, and it said I had a traumatic CSF leak. And I was never addressed any of that even happened to me. So I went from 2016 to 2021, and all this was going on in my brain, and I didn't have no clue. I was getting headaches throughout those years, and I would wonder why these headaches are so uncomfortable. And I always told myself, I need to get checked because something just seems off. But when the headaches went away, I didn't think anything of it. And I used to get these brain zaps that would happen right here, and it would feel like I'm getting electrocuted in my head, and it would literally stop me in my tracks, and I couldn't even move, and I would have to ball my fist because it hurt so much. That's when I said, well, I need to get checked. But those started getting more persistent, and then when I got the car accident in 2021, I put two and two together, and it just sucks because doctors they're there, but they fail you and gaslight you and think, oh, you're just getting regular headaches. It's not this, it's not that. Chiari doesn't cause this, Syringomyelia doesn't cause that. But we could get into that at another time. I wanted to come on here and introduce myself. Sorry, I'm at my son's car circle. Don't worry, it's a closed parking lot. Yeah, I'm gonna start uploading more stuff here. I want to start every once a week. I want to connect with other people that have Chiari, Syringomyelia, and other conditions, other brain conditions. It could be anything. I just want this to be for a space for all of us just to get to know each other and share our experiences, because I know there's a lot of people that are suffering in silence, and I see it all the time on my social media. I've been spreading awareness for a couple years now on my social media platforms, and recently on Facebook. As of, I want to say last year, I started using that platform for awareness too. But my TikTok and Instagram, they're starting to get a lot more traction now with people, and I just love meeting new people. And it's sad when I get these messages and hearing these people's stories, especially from other countries, that there's no doctors there that will acknowledge them or listen to them and not make them feel valid, and make it seem like it's all in their head and they're crazy, and it's not. It's very real. The people that don't understand what we go through on a daily basis, it's literally every day, all around the clock. My head just pounds, and I do have my days where it's not so bad and I can function. But here in Florida, especially in the summertime, this heat, it makes me dizzy, makes me throw up. It's just horrible, and it just sucks, this environment for us. Some people say they love it here. The heat makes them feel better. Personally, I like the cold. We just got a cold front here, and it's like the coldest weather we've gotten all winter. And as soon as I went to take my son to school this morning, I've been in a flare-up since last week because of the fluctuation of temperatures. It's been like this past weekend, it was 85. The week before, it was like high 60s, low 40s. But I could tell when the front comes through down here, my head feels like it wants to explode. I could literally feels like water's just rising up to my head, and it's the most uncomfortable feeling in the world. It's hard to explain unless you feel it and you know what I'm talking about. Because a lot of people think, oh, you look fine, you can't be that sick, you had the surgery, you should be cured, and this and that. But the surgery is just 50-50. It works or it may not work, and then it also depends on the surgeon, the neurosurgeon. Some neurosurgeons don't know what they're doing. Mine claimed that he knew what he was doing, but he was in Miami. I had the surgery, and he talked a good game and how his success rate was so high and this and that. And it was like, I was like, man, it feels like he looks like I'm getting a car. But I trusted him. At the time, I was like, well, I'm going to take the risk. But, he told me the risk, and then not even, I want to say a week after I got home from surgery, my incision, I was leaking fluid. I was leaking CSF fluid, and I knew off the bat, I was like, this has to be a leak. And I'm like, I hope it's not, because leaks, they're not fun. And then other people share their experience with me when they had leaks. So I ended up having a leak, and then I had to go back to the hospital. Phone call sorry completed. About that. I had to go back to the hospital, and mind you, iPhone 17 I was in Miami, where I had the hospital, and I lived in the Tampa Bay area, just north of Tampa, and so it was a 5-hour drive. So they said, come back in and we'll look at you in the office and confirm it's a leak. Well, as soon as I went in, the neurosurgeon that was in the office at the time looked at my incision and says, yeah, you are leaking. So I had to go to the emergency room in Miami at Jackson Memorial Hospital, and I swear I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone. That hospital was insane, the emergency room, the things that my wife and I were seeing. And I was there for like 13 hours leaking, and I'm expecting my neurosurgeon. The resident comes finally at 7 p.m. or 7:30, and then we've been there since like 2 o'clock. And he's like, we're gonna put a lumbar drain in your lower back. And I'm like, okay, I didn't think none of it. and he does it in the emergency room, in the actual room in the emergency room. And with the door open, he's trying to make the area sterile, and the nurses were freaking out. He's like, this should be done in the OR. He doesn't even have oxygen on him. He's supposed to be doing this. And he did it at a shift change. So the nurses that were coming into this neurosurgeon, well, the resident, placing a lumbar drain in my lower back. For those who don't know, it's like I don't know, it's like a catheter they put in your spine. And he was like butchering me, like poking me nonstop, because he couldn't get to a point where my CSF, he was getting connection. And then that was a scary ordeal that like traumatized me a lot. And that was just the beginning of how things were going to turn out. I was at the hospital for 5 days with bed rest. I was there for 8 days total because, of course, there was a tropical storm that came by, so it kind of prolonged the stay. You know, I had to lay on my back the whole time, you know, and it was just a horrible experience. Then the time I got home, you know, everything I couldn't hear out of my left ear. Like right before I got discharged, there was humming in my ear, just like how if it's like when you go underwater and your hearing's muffled, and it's just a constant like hum on both ears. I couldn't hear a thing for like 10 days. And when I asked the surgeon, he was like, oh, I don't know. I was like, was it part of the leak? Did something happen? Am I still leaking? You know, since you re-stitched me? And he's like, oh, I have no idea. You know, go tell your doctor. You probably have to see an ENT. And he walked out. So I was like, whatever. It lasted, I want to say, like 10 days. I couldn't hear. It was getting to the point where I had the volume on the TV like at 40 or 50, and everyone's looking at me like, why? What are you trying to do? It's so loud. I was like, I can't hear. It feels like I still hear muffled. And then that was another thing. Found tendonitis drops, and that seemed to help. But since that day, I have a constant hum in my left ear. When it's quiet, I can hear it. And I can't be where it's pitch quiet, because that noise alone just drives you crazy. A lot of people with Chiari and leaks have tendonitis. So, but yeah, I want to stop rambling on. I just wanted to introduce myself. We could get more into depth of my story. A lot of you have heard my story on my social media platforms, which I will put in the description below if you guys want to give me a follow there. Yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting you guys and new people with Chiari on here, and the people that I already know. I want to get more of a personal look into my life and what my day-to-day looks like, and just talk about Chiari, and, you know, whatever you guys want to talk about. You know, you can leave your questions in the comments, and then we could do like a lot of Q&As and stuff. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to uploading on this channel. All right, you guys take it easy. Have a good day.